Hello Curious and welcome back. In recent years, and especially days in light of the war in Ukraine, there has been a lot of talk about the famous hacktivist group Anonymous. For a long time, they have been at the forefront of many cyber attacks against organizations or private persons. They had been known to leak different documents or information, such as allegedly recently leaking contact information of Russian politicians. The members of the group can often be recognized on the social media by having profile photos with the famous anonymous mask. But what exactly is this group of hackers and how do they organize themselves without even having a leader? How do they function? Where did they originate from? What famous cases have they been involved in? And how have they been fighting Russian propaganda in recent days? Stay with us until the very end to find out all about the mysterious group, but before we continue, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the hottest celebrity news. In light of the war in Ukraine, there has been a lot of talk about Anonymous, as the hacktivist group has been active with regards to cyber attacks in Russia. At the very beginning of the invasion, the Anonymous collective had claimed that they managed to breach the database belonging to the Russian Ministry of Defense, leaking their contact information. Those seem to include the officials' phone numbers, emails and passwords. Many Twitter users had commented on this, urging people to sign them up to spam emails or send them malware. The original tweet, however, was swiftly removed from the social media platform for violating their rules. But they have done more than just share contact details. The Russian government and the media are not showing the reality of what is happening in the neighboring country. They try to portray themselves as the good guys and say that it's just a special military operation. To this, the hacking group had said that they are trying to broadcast the truth about what is really happening. Social media sites have been restricted in Russia, which in itself has prevented images of the war from being seen. And so, the hacktivist group took it upon themselves to hack into the Russian broadcaster and show videos and images from Ukraine. Several clips have been shared that claim that Anonymous hacked the station. It has not been clear exactly which stations and for how long the broadcast was affected. Kremlin websites have also been affected by long outages after pro-Ukraine hackers announced a cyber war to counter what is happening. And so, in light of all this and hearing about the group for years, many have begun asking who exactly are Anonymous and where did they come from. So make sure to stay with us until the end as we look at this group and what other hacking operations they have been involved in. While for the most part identities of the collective members have been anonymous, The Atlantic had named Aubrey Cottle as one of the original founding members of the group, yet for the most part, officially not much is known about who is part of it. It is also not known exactly when Anonymous was founded. However, the beginning of their activity can be traced back to the early 2000s. In a way, it started in 2003 with the debut of 4chan, the internet's most popular image board site, where users can post all sorts of content, no matter how controversial. The anonymous aspect came from the fact that the service did not require logging into a personal account, and anyone can start their own thread or channel without giving a name or a nickname, with the system marking them as anonymous. As the platform became popular, users had begun to unite to carry out online pranks, and one of the first high-profile ones took place in 2006, targeting the social networking site Habbo Hotel. During it, they logged onto the platform with the same avatar and went on to block regular users from using the platform. Though as you can imagine curious, this was an innocent prank that was only a prelude to what these anonymous hackers could and would do. It was the turn of 2006 and 2007 that the hacker community targeted Harold Charles Hal Turner. The man was a representative of the extreme far right who was known for spreading conspiracy theories and were labelled as Holocaust deniers. It was at that moment that a group of 4chan hacktivists who called themselves Anonymous had attacked the man's website. This had led to Harold being charged with a bill for running the website and led to an end of his online presence. And so the group of internet pranksters had turned into an organisation that had a real power to have an impact on what was going on online. Their collective became ready to fight for online freedom, civil liberties, and a world without censorship. They had fought against the Church of Scientology for the protection of animal rights and authoritarian regimes. But despite the collective being anonymous, no one knows anything about who they are, yet they have not shied away from being present in public life. As we mentioned before, the group is often identified by the so-called anonymous mask. However, it is known as the Guy Fawkes mask, inspired by the English leader of a gunpowder conspiracy that was involved in a failed assassination attempt at the British Parliament. Many of you might recognise it in pop culture from the V for Vendetta 1982 comic book and the 2005 movie. And so, this hacktivist group wears the fox mask to symbolize their rebellion against the people in power. Nowadays, the mask is seen as a symbol of rebellion and is often worn at protests by people that might not necessarily be a part of the collective but support their work. Since we are speaking of pop culture, it is also worth mentioning the series Mr. Robot that had popularized the collective by openly referring to their ideas guiding them. Another show that is worth mentioning and one that touched upon the dark side of new technologies is Black Mirror. And of course, when it comes to the image of masked social warriors, we cannot forget to mention the hit series La Casa de Papel. If you want to know more about the series and its cast, then be sure to check out our previous videos in our dedicated playlist by clicking on the link above. But for now, stay with us until the very end to find out what other major events the group of anonymous hackers had taken part in. These hacktivists do not have any leader or an agreed upon structure as far as we are aware, yet they have been involved at the forefront of some of the biggest events. Some of the cyber attacks that they took part in have been more known, some less than others. One of their major attacks took place in 2010 and was known as Operation Payback, when Aplex Software had launched a DDoS attack, which is a disruption of normal traffic to our website or a server on a number of piracy sites. And so, in order to stop them, Anonymous launched their own DDoS attack on the company's site and then targeted other anti-piracy organizations. Their collective statements on the issue was simple, and it was that such corporations are trying to block people's right to share. For a while, it also seemed that after the group's peak in the early 2010s, the group had faded from the public eye after a series of arrests, but as several news sites report, there is a new generation on the rise. In 2020, following the passing of George Floyd at the hands of police officers, the group had leaked hundreds of gigabytes of internal police files from more than 200 agencies in what was called Blue Leaks. They had also made a video in which they not only threatened to expose the crimes of the Minneapolis Police Department, but also produced evidence regarding Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Princess Diana's passing, the royal family, and Bill Gates. Now, speaking of Lady D, if you want to know exactly what the collective had said with regards to the accident that ended her life, you can check out our previous video by clicking on the link above. In March 2011, in an effort to expose Bank of America's allegedly corrupt and unfair mortgage practices, the collective leaked internal emails reportedly sourced from a 7-year employee of the bank. Though, given that the bank was already in the news for the same reason, the case didn't make as much noise. Another major action the collective was involved in took place in December 2010, and their target was the famous WikiLeaks. When the US government had demanded that the people involved in the leaks stopped releasing top-secret diplomatic information to the public, a number of companies that previously supported them had turned against the site by freezing accounts and shutting down the site's servers. And so Anonymous have decided to step in on behalf of Julian Assange's cause and had declared war on major companies such as Visa, MasterCard and PayPal for refusing to do business with WikiLeaks. As a result, the sites of both the card companies were taken down by the group. Not even companies that create entertainment products were safe, and soon enough, Sony's PSN network had issues that caused them millions of damages. Why did Anonymous attack the company? Using their DDoS attack methods, the collective crashed the site as a punishment for Sony requiring payments for services that they had initially advertised as free. One of their vigilante justice actions was an attack on the controversial Westboro Baptist Church. During a live interview, the group defaced the site run by the church. They had cited their bigotry and hate-mongering as the cause of the collective's action. In a video posted to the site, Anonymous had said that while the church had the right to voice their hateful messages, the hacktivist group were bringing the church unwarranted publicity by hacking them. While according to many, Anonymous are in the right with regards to this fight, not all authorities think so. In 2012, there were several arrests made of members of the collective as announced by Interpol. All in all, 25 suspects were arrested from different countries and continents, and hundreds of pieces of tech were confiscated. Other members of the collective had retaliated and carried out an attack on the Interpol website. The basis for the arrests, according to media reports at the time, was the use of DDoS attacks which violate the internet usage policies, as well as allegedly violating the laws of the countries where the attacks occurred. So curious, it seems that the collective usually targets governments, companies and organizations that try to restrict freedom of information, free speech and which lack transparency. Do you think that the collective is the good guys? Were you aware of just how much power the group has? What other actions that Anonymous were involved in impressed you? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.